Exploring Dunedin Railway Station, a journey through time. Introduction. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're taking an in-depth look at one of New Zealand's architectural gems, the Dunedin Railway Station. This iconic building, opened in 1906, has a rich history and serves as a beautiful reminder of Dunedin's past. Over the next few minutes, we'll explore its fascinating history, architectural features, cultural significance, and the role it still plays today in the community. So, grab a snack, get comfy, and let's embark on this journey together. In the late 1890s and early 1900s, New Zealand's railway system was booming. The government, led by Joseph Ward, the Minister of Railways at the time, decided to pour money into the rail network. One major part of this plan? A brand new railway station for Dunedin, which was the busiest in the country back then. The original Dunedin station? Built in 1872 and replaced twice. Yeah, the city was growing that fast. To design this new station, a national competition was held. And a guy named George Alexander Troop won. He was already working as the chief draftsman in the railways department, but this project? It made his name legendary. They called him Gingerbread George for a reason. He loved elaborate designs, and he didn't hold back with this one. The building features dark Kokanga basalt from central Otago, creamy Amaru stone for contrast, and imported granite pillars from Scotland. And the roof? Classic Marseilles tiles. Inside, it's just as impressive. You've got stained glass windows showing vintage locomotives, a frieze of Doulton cherubs and vines, arch ticket booths, and a mosaic floor that literally has a railway engine design in it. Fun fact: the original plan was to use brick, but they went with stone instead to save money, even though the final cost still hit £800,000. Still, they saved where they could, like using railway labor and materials to keep costs down. Now, there was a lot of debate about where to build it. The final location on reclaimed land near Anzac Avenue sparked controversy, especially with the Harbour Board. Eventually, a royal commission settled it. But because the land was so soft, they had to drive in 600 piles just to support the structure. By the 1960s, the heavy building caused the mosaic floor to sink. So they dug it up, reinforced the base, and laid the exact same design again. Even the fence and gates are part of the heritage listing, complete with fancy wrought iron rails and concrete bases. And get this, the platform was once the longest in all of New Zealand. But like many things, the golden days didn't last forever. In the 1980s and early 90s, New Zealand Rail went through big restructuring. A lot of buildings were sold off, including this one. In 1991, Dunedin City Council bought the station. By 1994, they had full control, and they kicked off a massive restoration project. Today, the Dunedin Railway Station is more than just a station. It houses a top-notch restaurant, the offices for the Taieri Gorge Railway, the New Zealand Sports Hall of Fame, and the Cleveland Living Arts Center. And if you're wondering how respected this building is, the famous architectural historian Sir Nicolaus Pevsner visited in 1958 and said this was his favorite building in New Zealand. He even called the booking hall very, very charming indeed. Historical context. Early rails, how it all began. It was constructed during a period of growth for the New Zealand rail system that occurred between the late 1890s to the early 1900s. In 1901, Joseph Ward, the Minister of Railways, proposed spending £500,000 per annum for the next 5 years, a plan which included the construction of the railway's head office in Wellington, and a new railway station for Dunedin. Dunedin was at this time the busiest railway station in the country and was outgrowing its third building. The first Dunedin railway station was built in 1872 near the intersection of High and Rattray Streets and had been replaced twice, each time on a different site. Dunedin's railway story kicked off way back in the 1870s. The city was first linked to Christchurch by rail in 1878, and by the following year, you could ride all the way south to Invercargill. Before that, in 1875, the first railway workshops opened at Hillside in South Dunedin, so yeah, rail was a big deal here. There were plans for a grand station early on, but those dreams? They stalled right after the foundation was laid. Instead, a basic wooden station popped up in 1884 and stuck around for years. It wasn't until nearly 2 decades later that the government finally said, okay, let's do this properly. Construction of a masterpiece. And they didn't hold back. The station was designed in an eclectic Renaissance revival style, you know, that kind of architecture that makes you stop and stare. It was built using dark basalt from Kokona and highlighted with Amaru stone, creating that bold light and dark pattern that Dunedin and Christchurch are famous for. The colonnade? Held up by pink granite pillars. The roof? Covered in terracotta tiles from Marseille, and topped with shiny copper-domed cupolas. And towering over it all, a 37-meter clock tower, visible across the city. Inside the station. Step inside, and prepare to be blown away. The booking hall floor? A mosaic of nearly 750,000 Minton tiles. Look up, and there's a Royal Doulton porcelain frieze running along the balcony. From up there, you'll see tile patterns shaped like locomotives and other rail symbols. Oh, and get this, Dunedin's main platform is the longest in New Zealand, stretching an impressive 500 meters. Opening day in early glory. The foundation stone was laid in 1904 by the Minister of Railways, Joseph Ward, who, by the time the station opened in 1906, had become Prime Minister. The cost? £40,000, and yes, it stayed within budget. Can you imagine that happening today? Back then, this was the busiest station in the country, handling up to 100 trains a day. Suburban services, long-distance lines to Christchurch and Invercargill, and the famous Otago Central Railway all ran through here. The slow decline and reinvention. But as rail travel declined and Dunedin's economy slowed, so did the traffic. The once bustling station saw fewer and fewer trains. Dock platforms, massive shunting yards, they've all mostly disappeared. The surrounding land is now full of wholesale and light industrial businesses. But here's where it gets interesting, instead of being forgotten, the station reinvented itself. A new purpose. Bought by the Dunedin City Council in 1994, the station found a second life. Now, it's a multi-purpose hub. It still serves Dunedin Railway's tourist trains. Part of the ground floor is now a restaurant. Upstairs, you'll find the New Zealand Sports Hall of Fame and the Otago Art Society. And every Saturday morning, there's a produce market just north of the building. Yes, a fashion show. On a railway platform. Restoration and recognition. The late 1990s saw a complete restoration of the station's exterior and the landscaping of Anzac Square right outside. In 2006, the station's 100-year anniversary was celebrated with a festival, including 8 working steam locomotives from around the country. That same year, it was honored as one of the top 200 places in the world to visit. Tragedy, art, and Hollywood. In 2008, a container wagon hit and damaged the historic footbridge near the southern end. 1 person was hurt, but thankfully, only minor injuries. The footbridge was rebuilt just a few months later, restoring that historic link. And in 2013, a local baker recreated the station in gingerbread. Yes, 1.5 meters long, made entirely of edible gingerbread, icing, and chocolate. More recently, the station became a film set, featured in Jane Campion's Oscar-winning movie, The Power of the Dog. Architectural marvel. Now, let's shift gears and talk about the architecture. Dunedin Railway Station is not just functional, it is truly a work of art. The intricate stonework, the stunning clock tower, and the majestic domes make it a must-see for locals and tourists alike. As we explore the exterior, pay attention to the elaborate decorations, including the beautiful stained glass windows and the layout that makes the station a joy to navigate. Inside, we find the spacious waiting areas adorned with wooden fittings and impressive tilework. This architectural brilliance was not just about aesthetics, it reflected the optimism of the time, showcasing what Dunedin could achieve. And it continues to inspire awe and respect even today. Cultural significance. The significance of the Dunedin Railway Station extends far beyond transport. It has become a cultural hub, hosting various art exhibitions, community events, and even the popular Otago Farmers Market. Every Saturday, vendors fill the grounds, offering fresh local produce and handmade goods, transforming the space into a lively marketplace filled with colors, sounds, and the delicious aromas of New Zealand cuisine. The station also houses the Dunedin Railway's heritage services, providing scenic excursions that allow visitors to experience the lush landscapes of Otago from the quaint comfort of vintage trains. Anzac Square and Anzac Avenue. Right outside Dunedin's iconic railway station lies a place that's not just steeped in history, but also full of surprises. Welcome to Anzac Square, which, funnily enough, isn't really a square. Yep, it's actually triangular in shape. But that doesn't make it any less important. In the 1990s, the whole area got a major facelift. They didn't just touch up the paths, they went all in with a formal knot garden, making it look super elegant. Now, if you stand at the square and look straight down Lower Stewart Street, you'll see it leads directly to Dunedin's beating heart, the Octagon. And from there, guess what? The station stands tall as a major landmark. It's actually designed to be the terminating vista. Basically, it's meant to be the grand view at the end of the street. Pretty cool, right? Now let's talk about Anzac Avenue. It starts right here at the square and stretches about a kilometer all the way to Logan Park. It's lined with trees and runs roughly parallel to the railway. Fun fact, part of Anzac Avenue used to be the northern end of State Highway 88, the road that links central Dunedin with the port at Port Chalmers. But in 2011, things changed. The new Forsyth Bar Stadium popped up, and they had to reroute part of the highway to make space. And speaking of Logan Park, it was actually the site of the 1925 New Zealand and South Seas exhibition. That's huge. The avenue and square were both named to honor the Anzacs, the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps, who were New Zealand's main military force during World War I. After Anzac Square was refurbished, they added a big plaque to remember New Zealand's Victoria Cross recipients. It stood proudly at the northern end for a while, but it's since been moved to a more prominent location, right next to Dunedin's main war memorial, the Dunedin Cenotaph, down in Queen's Gardens. Anzac Square and Anzac Avenue aren't just pretty spots, they're places where history and the present walk hand in hand. So next time you're here, don't just pass by, take a moment to explore, reflect, and appreciate the stories hidden in plain sight. Economic impact. Moving on, let's discuss the economic impact of Dunedin Railway Station. It has been a significant driver of tourism, attracting visitors from all around the world. Hotels, restaurants, and local businesses thrive on the foot traffic generated by tourists coming to see this historic site. Furthermore, the station serves as a critical link for transporting goods, aiding local industries in reaching broader markets. As we reflect on its economic role, we must acknowledge that the station is not just a relic of history, it is a vibrant part of the community's ongoing story. Preservation efforts. Preserving such a historical treasure is no small feat. Stewardship of the Dunedin Railway Station is vital for future generations. Local councils and heritage organizations work diligently to ensure that this landmark is maintained and restored when necessary. In recent years, there have been initiatives focused on improving the infrastructure while maintaining the station's historical integrity. It's reassuring to know that while we cherish the past, efforts are in place to secure the future of this beautiful building. Transport services. The station was served by daily sightseeing trains to Middlemarch or Pukerangi via the Taieri Gorge, and to Palmerston. Although lacking any facilities specific to bus travel, it is Dunedin's terminal for shuttle vans to Dunedin International Airport and for most long-distance buses other than intercity, which has its own terminal nearby. Community reflections. As we approach the end of our journey, let's take a moment to reflect on the community's relationship with the Dunedin Railway Station. For many locals, this station represents more than just a transit point, it is a symbol of pride and nostalgia. Throughout the years, countless stories have unfolded within its walls, families greeting loved ones, travelers embarking on adventures, and artists finding inspiration. I interviewed several locals who shared their fond memories associated with the station, and those stories reinforced the idea that this place is woven into the fabric of Dunedin's identity. And here we are, at the conclusion of our journey through the Dunedin Railway Station. We've learned about its history, admired its stunning architecture, and celebrated its cultural and economic significance. Thank you for joining me on this in-depth exploration. Remember, history is not just about the past, it's about how those stories shape our present and guide our future. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. What aspect of the Dunedin Railway Station did you find most fascinating? Until next time, keep exploring.